What's up, guys? Mason Brock Henderson here, and this is WandaVision Season 1, Episode 5, on a very special episode. So, I unfortunately was not as surprised as I wish I could have been because the internet exists and people don't want to shut the... Seriously, though, like, my god, before even like, Episode 1, people were like, we saw Evan Peters, like, oh, he's gonna be Quicksilver now, guys. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, that would have been great to find out on this episode. Like, I don't understand why people want to find out so much. You know, all these rumors. Oh, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield are gonna be in Spider-Man 3. They're gonna be other Spider-Men. Yeah, I wish I could have gone into the movie not knowing about that and being shocked and surprised if they do happen to come in as Spider-Man from a different universe. That would be awesome if I didn't find it out before the freaking movie. Like, social media has helped with a lot of things, with staying connected, being able to talk with other people that you may not even know, but maybe have like similar opinions, or if they have different opinions, sometimes you can talk to them. Most of the time, it doesn't work like that because basically on social media, if you have a different opinion, you hate each other for some odd reason. I don't know why. That's just how the internet works now. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm glad that we're getting this. This is cool. I like this, but just in context of everything else going on, and in context of the fact that Evan Peters was coming on the show was not a surprise to me. That part of just like I'm so frustrated, and even like it's Saturday now, going on Sunday almost. It's so late. I need to go to bed. So I've not even seen the show for a full day. One day. That's it. Just one day. And I already saw like so much to do with this episode. I saw an article. It's like, why is Wanda talking with her Zakovian accent again? It's just a bunch of articles, and then there's pictures of people. And I'm like, you guys realize, even if you don't necessarily spoil that much, even if what you're spoiling is not a huge thing, it still could be. You don't know if it's a huge spoiler or not. You don't know if somebody watching would be surprised if they saw that. So why? Why can't we save the articles? Why can't we save it until, or at least don't put any pictures that spoil anything. If you're going to put pictures, you could put a picture of Wanda and Vision, but nothing to do with the spoilers of the show. Do all of that, and then the articles don't have any words that could suggest spoilers. Just if people want to look up stuff, if they've already watched it and they want to see stuff about WandaVision, then they'll click on the articles because you got a picture of it. And they know, okay, I can look at this article. But you putting a picture of somebody, it's like, what is this new person doing here? It's like, well, now I know they're going to be in it, and I'm not going to be happily surprised whenever I find out. So it's just, I know I went on a bit of a rant there, but it's just really frustrating. Like, it's happened a lot over the past few years, but it feels like, especially this past year, mainly because, of course, everybody's quarantined and there's nothing better to do but get on the internet. It's like everybody just wants to spoil everyone's fun. Everybody wants to be douches to each other because nobody's really in person as much anymore. And it's just, I don't know. I hate the internet more and more. Like, as I get older, I know it's weird to say, but yeah, I don't see the purpose of why you want to spoil fun. Why do you want to get on there and be like, hey, everybody, guess what I found out? Like, why can't you just wait and then watch and then find out about this cool stuff? Like, it's just weird to me. Anyways, though, with all that being said, this episode was very interesting. Answered a few things, but also, once again, raised a few more questions. First of all, I'll talk about what I didn't really like. I still don't like Darcy being in the show. I mean, she's in there to make her little one-liner jokes that most of the time are just kind of not funny. And then she's also there to just kind of, I don't know, they think her reactions are hilarious, and some of them can be, but for the most part, I don't know, her reactions kind of annoy me. So I know I have like kind of a personal thing against it just because she was one of the worst things in any Marvel movie in Thor: The Dark World. But yeah, still not doing anything for me, still not making me enjoy her character more. It's still just so annoying to watch her most of the time. And I'm also not a huge fan of the general, or I can't remember his name now, but the guy that's in charge, the director of S.W.O.R.D. I'm not a big fan of him because it seemed like they were kind of playing at this idea that maybe there would be some tension between him and Monica because, well, he stepped into this role and Monica's mom was in that role before. So is there going to be some tension there? And it seemed like they sort of pushed that aside and said, no, we're good. But then in this episode, he turns into that douchey director guy who's just like, I'm in charge here. I'm the one that makes the rules. We need to send this drone in. We have a missile in there. Fire. Shooter. Just like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, I don't know. They turned him into such a douche in just 2 episodes. Like, when we saw him beginning of last episode, I thought, are we gonna be dealing with the douchebag? Like, is he gonna be a jerk? And then it didn't seem like he was. And now, 1.5 episodes later, now all of a sudden he's turned into a douche, and now I don't like his character anymore because he's every stereotypical guy in charge that thinks he's the head of everything, thinks he knows everything, thinks he's better than everybody else, and he's not. And I've seen it done so many times, and I don't like that character stereotype because it's just so one dimensional. He's not the main antagonist, but he is an antagonist for this season, and those antagonists are just always so one dimensional. Like, there's no real reason other than, oh, well, she's dangerous and I need to make sure I deal with this dangerous threat. Okay. So you're just going to ignore everybody else's advices and just make your own decisions based on your limited knowledge of what's going on? That's a smart thing to do as director, right? So those two things are just, they're blips in what is otherwise a very fun show and a very interesting show. But yeah, some of the key plot points that were very interesting in this one. First of all, the twins. Kind of interesting that they're just aging themselves up so quickly. And they just have the ability to, and they're aware of this ability, because they do it. They go from babies to being like, probably 5 or 6 years old, and then they find a little puppy, and then they're like, "Can we have him?" And then Wanda, well, you can have him once you're 10, and they look at each other, and they age up to being 10 years old. And then whenever the puppy dies, which kind of broke my heart a little bit. Whenever that happens, then it's like they look at each other like they're about to age up again, so they don't have to deal with the pain. And that brings me to the other very interesting kind of plot point is Wanda in this moment suddenly kind of goes against everything that is happening this season, and tells them, look, this happens. Like, sometimes you lose things, you lose people forever, and you can't change that. Sometimes you have to face that pain, which is interesting because if what we are seeing right now is to be believed, which I'm still on the fence about, then everything she's doing counter or contradicts what she's saying. So it's almost like she's not, either she is aware that she's saying the opposite of what she's doing, or this is really how she feels, and maybe there's some other force at play here that she's not aware of, or maybe she's kind of coming to this realization as she's saying it, like she's already done so much to try to affect her reality and change it to make herself happy, that whenever her sons are trying to do it, she's like, no, you can't. And then that kind of sparks that thought that you can't always run away. Like, things don't just change like that. So, kind of an interesting theory being brought in there. The idea that this isn't what she really wants. Like, she knows better than to just change reality to make it suit what she wants. Because if that is the case, if she does understand that concept, then all of this that's going on kind of falls apart. Like, there's no reason why she would go get Vision and bring him into this place and then make him a living being again, because she understands that concept of, no, I don't need to do that. I need to move on with my life. So kind of curious to see if that's going to play in more, or if it's just kind of I don't know, a throwaway scene. I doubt that's the case, but we'll see what's going to happen with it later. Something else is seeing Vision. Not only, seeing him coming to realize all of this stuff that's going on and coming to see what this world actually is, and he's starting to realize, okay, this isn't right. There's something odd about all of this. But also seeing him vulnerable is very interesting to me because he's basically just been kind of an artificial personality. You know, we saw him in the first couple movies. He was learning, he was figuring things out. And we did see him start to develop more of a human personality by the time Infinity War rolled around. And we saw him and Wanda, you know, really connecting. Which I did find interesting, you know, because he did start off as just an AI inside of a humanoid body. And so the fact that he did start to develop feelings for somebody else kind of made him more interesting, and it gave him more of a it seemed like he had something else inside of him aside from just an AI. Like it seemed like he was a real living person. So getting to see him now not just vulnerable in like a relationship type of thing, but now we get to see him truly scared. Like he doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know what's going on, and it's freaking him out. That scene was very well done because again, we don't get to see that side of Vision. We don't ever get to see him put off. He's always kind of been just very, even when things do kind of catch him off guard or something like that, he still doesn't really react to it because he's not had the capabilities to before now. So very interesting to see that. And also very interesting that Wanda, even though she's being confronted with what we believe is the truth, you know, that she's in charge of everything and she's controlling everybody, making them believe this is all reality, even though she's being confronted with that, it's kind of like she feels like she's responsible, but she's not admitting to it for some reason. So again, kind of playing at that theory that maybe she's not completely in control of all of this. Maybe there's something else going on that's out of her control, and it's kind of keeping her under this perception that this is what she wants and she does want to stay here. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, and we do get to see the one part of the episode where they send in the drone. And again, I didn't like that they put the missile in the drone, and then the director was like, "Fire, shoot!" And I'm just like, "Okay, dude." But I did like the scene when she comes out and basically confronts them. Whenever she turned all of the weapons on him, I was like, "Damn, that was pretty cool." But seeing her in this scene, first of all, she does have the Sokovian accent again, which means because when we saw her in Infinity War, and I think I'm actually just about to rewatch Endgame again, so I guess I'll get kind of an idea soonish of whether or not she did have the accent. I'm pretty sure though she lost the Sokovian accent completely by the time Infinity War rolled around, which means she still wouldn't have it now. So the fact that she has it again, kind of an interesting thing. Like, is there possibly dual personalities going on here? Like maybe the Wanda that's living in this world and, you know, seems very innocent whenever she's being confronted for the most part. Like maybe this Wanda is trapped inside of a body with kind of a split personality because her powers kind of split her apart. One side that's like grieving and wants to keep all of this to herself, and then the other side of her that just doesn't understand and is very innocent and is just playing along with whatever's happening. That might be kind of an interesting thing if that's what's happening here. You know, all of the grief basically drove her insane and split her personality in two. Because it just seemed weird that we've seen her without the accent for so long, and then all of a sudden now she has the accent again. But that scene was very intense and kind of again raised some questions of what is the goal here for her. You know, she seems like she just wants to keep all of this to herself, but why? And why is she involving these innocent people? A lot of questions being raised, and I'm very curious to see what they're gonna do with it. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else before I get to the final scene, because of course there's a lot to dissect in that. Oh, the so the commercials. You know, we're still getting commercials that tie in with Wanda's life. This one was the funniest to me, and it's just because it's the dark sense of humor. They've got the paper towel commercial, and it's the Lagos paper towels, which is the city that she basically destroyed in at the beginning of Captain America: Civil War. Like she destroyed the building when she threw the what's his name, Crossbones, I think. She threw him with the bomb up into this building and destroyed it, and got a bunch of civilians hurt in the process. It's the tagline killed me. It's like when for those messes that you really would just want to clean up or something like that. I was like, man, that's dark, and I love it. I love dark humor so much, so it got me. Um, but yeah, so I think that's the last thing. Everything else was pretty cut and dry. Just everything happening with the story. Agnes, we see she's kind of, I don't know. I've seen theories about her because um, something to do with her name and how it relates to another Marvel character that apparently has like witch powers as well. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. If so, then again, another possible spoiler. But it's a theory, so I can't really claim that one's a spoiler because there's been no indication of that. But it does seem like she's one of the few, maybe the only one, that has broken out of the simulation, at least, or can. Because everybody else, it seems like even if they want to, like Herb at the end of last episode, he wanted to say something, but didn't. He couldn't, and then Agnes was like telling him no. Norm in this episode, he's reading this thing on the computer screen, and he's completely oblivious, and it's not until Vision, like, I guess, takes off the mind control that's when he realizes, oh my gosh, we're still under her control. And kind of interesting, he didn't never say Wanda. He didn't say who is controlling them. So not sure if that's kind of supposed to be a clever thing or not. It's one of those scenes that if by the end of this, Wanda is the one in control of all of this, I wonder why all of these scenes were set up so deliberately to make her look like the bad guy this season, to make her look like she's the one in control. It's just so deliberate that it feels like they're trying to say, no, this isn't actually what's going on. There's somebody else in control. Even Monica, when she was talking to the director, even she's saying something along the lines of, like, I don't think she's the one in charge, or I don't think she doesn't mean bad. So they're kind of playing with that a little bit, and I feel like to play with that so much just to have Wanda be the one who actually is doing all of this, I feel like it would be kind of pointless, in my opinion, but I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so all of that, though, was kind of just straightforward, playing more into the idea of who's in control and what actually is going on. But then, of course, we get to the final scene. And, yeah, all the talk about her brother and talking about, like, how he's away, and then the whole idea of bringing people back to life. I kind of did feel like this is going to be the episode where her brother shows up. And so sure enough, there at the end, he pops in. I will give credit. Funny line from Darcy. Of course, anybody could have said it, but it is a very Darcy line. She's like, oh my gosh, she recast Pietro? Very nice little nod to the camera there. So, good job. You gave Darcy one clever line. But yeah, so kind of opens up a lot of interesting things. This could... I don't know exactly what it means, but there could be this idea that this is just a random guy that was in this simulation already, and then she turned him into her brother. That's one theory that's kind of floating in my mind. Like, he's not actually Quicksilver, and even though it is Evan Peters, this isn't actually Pietro. It's another guy that has been shifted in this reality to become her brother. And so, obviously they can't have somebody who looks exactly like a brother because he doesn't, he's dead in the real world. So that's one theory that I thought of. Another one is we're finally crossing, all this talk about multiverse and stuff. We're finally crossing multiverses here. We're finally getting our first example of what this is going to look like. Because now that they own Fox, Disney, now that Disney owns Fox, they do have access to all of these X-Men characters and the people that played them as well. So this could be our first case of this is a Pietro from another universe. And somehow they've managed to cross the reality and bring him in, which it's still, at that point, it could still be either Wanda or somebody else that's in charge, basically trying to keep her happy again, because things are starting to kind of go amok for her. Vision is finding out all of this isn't real, and so she's trying to kind of keep a hold of everything, and it feels like she's sort of losing it. So this could be kind of a way to sort of satiate her for now. Just be like, hey, here's your brother. But it also could be her doing, from all of this talk of bringing back the dead, she brings back her brother, but because he's dead in this universe, she brings back another Quicksilver from a different universe. So, kind of interesting to see. Are we going to see our first blending of two different universes, or is this going to be something that still exists just within the MCU? Um, I still haven't watched the end of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't know if they tackle any of this at all, like talk about the concept of alternate universes, because, I mean, based on what I was seeing in the next to last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there was no talk about Thanos, like, snapping and then half of the planet's population disappearing. It didn't seem like any of that happened in the show. At least, not that I could tell. So maybe that does happen later, maybe it doesn't. So I'll be kind of curious to find out if they decide to play at all with the idea of the multiverse. But I know, there's been a lot of talk that that's what they're going to start doing. They're going to start bringing this concept of other universes' characters coming in to help out, and all the ideas that could bring with it. I mean, it is a pretty fun setup, and I'm excited to see what they decide to do with it. But for now, I still am very confused about what him being on the show means, what exactly it does, how he got there. I mean, it's very exciting though, and again, it answered a couple questions. It helped me figure out some things in this episode, but it also raised some more. And I love the idea of them doing this for this season. It's just kind of keeping us on our toes, trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening inside of this place. I still hope they have an explanation for why they're deciding to go decades of television, like why they're setting it up like a TV show to begin with. It seems very just out there and bizarre. So I hope there's a reason for it. I hope it's not just like, oh, well, we're art, we're artistic. That's what we want to do. But there's definitely a lot of stuff that they've been kind of slipping in clues, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out who's involved. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like if you really watch it again, and if you at the end of the season, if you go back and watch all the way through, I feel like it's going to be interesting to see, oh, so that's what that meant. I always love whenever shows or games or movies, whenever they can do that, when you rewatch or replay and you go through with the new knowledge that you got at the end of the game or at the end of the movie or at the end of the show, you go through with that mindset, you're like, oh, I see what they did there now. Like, I love it whenever shows, movies, games do that. So I really hope that that's how the season ends, with that kind of ending. Because it's just more interesting to me, when you see the planning, the pre-planning that it took. So anyways, with all that being said, I know I prattled on about a lot of stuff, but I mean, it's becoming more packed with information. Every episode, you have your moments where it's starting to break the simulation a little bit. You're having more instances of Vision seeing something's wrong. Like I said, Agnes just seemingly not, ooh, excuse me, seemingly not being affected by any of this. She sees all the powers. She's like, oh yeah, no problem. There's the one scene where she walks in and just flubs the scene or whatever. Like Vision kind of messes it up, and she's like, well, you just want to start from the top. That type of stuff doesn't happen with other characters. Like I said, Herb tried to say something to Vision, but he couldn't. Agnes, it seems like, is just very nonchalant about all of it. So, I don't know. I'll be curious to see what they do next. But, with all that being said, that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future WandaVision reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.